Today, in this chapter, we will see what is indexing. Now, what is indexing? We will describe in this chapter additional auxiliary access structure that is called indexes, which are used to set up the retrieval of records to, um, to fulfill certain search conditions. Okay. The index structure typically provide secondary access paths, which provide alternative ways to access the record without affecting the physical placement of records on the disk. They enable efficient access to records based on the indexing fields that are used to construct the index. Basically, any field on the file can be used to create an index, and multiple indexes on the different field can be constructed on the same file. The variety of indexes are possible, and there are only single level indexes and multi-level indexes if we consider the static index. Okay. And if we consider dynamic indexes, we will use different data structure to construct our index. If we use dynamic data structure, dynamic indexes, then we will use tree data structure to organize the index. In dynamic indexes, we will see B tree indexing and B plus tree indexing. Now we will discuss first single level indexes. Now ordered index. What is ordered index? Okay, we will first see what are the different kind of single level indexes. Single level indexes, there are primary index, clustering index and secondary index. And there are multi-level indexing also. So first we will see what is single level index. In single level index, we will see there is first primary index. Now what is primary index? To understand what is primary index, first consider this picture. So this is our main data file. In this data file, main data file, there are billions of tuples, maybe billions of tuples, and each these attributes are known as field of the data file. We will say field of the data file. That means it means the different attributes of the data file. So this is our main data file, and in this main data file we are going to create an index file for this main data file. So when we are creating primary key indexing, it will fulfill two main things. In primary key indexing, the index field will be, we will create an index on the primary key field, and that field, the second condition is that field must be ordered. So what is the criteria to create an primary key indexing? To create primary key indexing, we should fulfill two main criteria. First criteria, that field on which we are going to create an indexing, that field must be ordered. And secondly, that field on which we are going to create an indexing must be a primary key field. That's why the name is primary key indexing. So suppose this is our data file, and on this data file we are going to create an primary key indexing. So we have to satisfy two criteria. The field on which we are going to create an index, that field must be primary key field, and that field must be ordered field. So here we are denoting here the name. This field is the primary key field. That means every entry is distinct from each other. Okay, and that field is ordered. So first we are seeing the field is ordered field. So when we are creating an index file, in this file there is in index file, every index file that have two fields. One field containing the data field on which we are creating the index, and another field is containing the address of that field. That means block pointer. So what is now the condition is what is block and what is block pointer. So block is the smallest unit of our memory in which we can store data. Smallest unit in our memory in which we can store data. And that block pointer is the address of that block. So suppose this name, first name, is stored in this block. There are suppose smallest unit block and there are 4 entries are there in each block. Okay, so suppose in the first block, first data is this, and the address of the first data is written here in the index file block pointer, but the address of the first data is written here. Now second block, first entry is Admas John. So this Admas John will be in our index file in primary key field, primary key indexing, and the address of the second block is stored in the block pointer. So in the third data entry in the index file, what will be the third data entry? Third data entry will be entry first entry of the data file of the third block. Third block first entry will be the third entry in the index file. And what is the block pointer value? The address of the third block. So suppose this is the third, fourth, fifth, sixth. What will be the sixth entry? Sixth entry will be first data of the sixth block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, this is the sixth block. First entry is this. So 6 data entry in the index file is the first data of the sixth block, and in the block pointer there will be the address of the sixth block. Okay, so this is the primary key indexing. So in primary key indexing, in the index file there is two data field. This is one data field and this is another data field. So first data field will store the data field of the primary key field of the data file, and second field will be the address of the block. Okay. In our primary key indexing we use the anchor record of each block. What is anchor record? Anchor record is nothing but the first data of each block, and this is also called the block anchor. What is block anchor? Block anchor is nothing but the first data of each block. Why block anchor is used? Block anchor is used in primary key indexing because in primary key indexing we are creating an index on the primary key field, and every data is sorted or ordered data. Okay, so we just use the first data of each block or block anchor to create the index file. This type of indexing is called as non-dense indexing. Why non-dense indexing? There are two types of indexing, non-dense indexing and dense indexing. What is dense indexing and what is non-dense indexing? If we are used in index file, every index entry for every data entry. If we have an index entry for every data entry, then this is dense indexing. So what is index entry for every data entry? Suppose there are two datas in the first block. So if we have two index entry for these two data, then it is called every index entry for every data entry. Every index entry in the index file for every data entry in the data file. But here in primary key indexing, what is happening? We are having an index entry for each for each data block anchor. That means for each data of the first block. Okay, for that reason it is called non-dense indexing. So I think we are able to understand what is primary key indexing. We just summarize what is primary key indexing. Primary key indexing is we can create indexing in ordered file, and in our index file will be an ordered file. That means the primary, this is the index file. So when we are creating this index file will also be an ordered file with two fields. What are the two fields? One field is the primary key field, which is nothing but the block anchors. That means what is block anchors? Block anchors are the first data of each block. Here in index file, every index entry will be the first data of each block. These are called the block anchors. So in our index file, this is our index file. Index file has the ordered file with two fields. One field is the primary key field and another field is the pointer to the next block. One index entry in the index file for each block in the data file. This is nothing but the block anchor. In every index entry is for the first data of the each block, which are known as block anchors. Indexes may be dense or sparse index. Sparse index is non-dense index. So there are two types of index. One is dense index, another is non-dense index. Non-dense index is known as sparse index. Dense index has an index entry for every search key value of the data file. What is search key value? That means each value of the this field on which we are going to create an index. Okay, this is known as search key value. And sparse index has entries for only some search values. Here in our index file we have only some entries. What are the entries? Entries are the first data of each block, that are the block anchors. So primary key field is the sparse index type index. Okay, so this is primary key index.